here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Good. Bună ziua tuturor. Good day, everybody, in case you're wondering what that means. I practice whenever I can, because that's what it's all about. I'm here today again with Master Phil, and we are talking about why my wine glass is too small.
We're talking, today's topic is the journey, not the destination.
Mm-hmm. That's right. What got us onto this particular topic was me watching a movie again from a book that I read a million years ago. The book, of course, was Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And they made it into a movie that had Nick Nolte in it.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I'm not a Nick Nolte fan, but he was fantastic in that. Absolutely fantastic. It was the perfect choice. And of course, there's that one segment in there where they're climbing up this mountain to go see this great thing. And they get up to the top, and Dan Millman looks at Socrates and he says to him, you know, well, what am I here to see? And he's going, well, that by your foot there. He's going, it's not the flower, is it? He says, no, the rock. It's the rock. And he picks up the rock and he said, we hiked for 4.5 hours to see a rock. And then they start getting into the conversation, well, you were so happy when we were coming here because of this thing you were going to see and all that. And then Dan has this realization that it's the journey, not the destination, that brings us happiness. And it is. But people still have a tendency to focus on the destination.
Yeah.
Even though there's so much like what we're doing here that will tell you otherwise.
Yeah, people are very destination focused, and I think that's really been put into people. When you look at the commercials, the marketing, how, TV shows when very little, you would see so many scenes per 10 seconds kind of thing, whereas now you're probably seeing about 4 times that amount of scenes in a same time period. You look at how things are marketed, like exercise equipment, do this exercise, which isn't exercise on this equipment that doesn't require any kind of work or effort to get results instantly. It's all about instant gratification and not the journey. Look at the journey for first to be black belt, 4 to 5 years an average for the average person. And people just want the black belt. They want the prestige or the social status of having a black belt, but they don't want the journey from white to black. And then the continued journey after black is too many people think once they arrive at this destination of achieving a first black belt that somehow it stops. But that's just the beginning.
It reminds me of Jeff.
Yeah.
I'll say Jeff because Jeff's a common name, even though that is his name, without giving away his last name.
Well, there's actually another person who do the same thing too. Who got the assistant black belt and then dropped.
Which one?
Frank.
Oh, Frank, yeah. I forgot about Frank.
Two that did that. So.
Well, Jeff stood out more because I actually had the conversation with Jeff about a year later.
Yeah.
Now, in my system, I have a black belt step before black belt, before first degree. And it is quality control, basically. You become what we call assistant black belt. You wear a black belt, but you're not. You are, but you aren't. And it was a great retention tool for getting people to first degree. And beyond that, obviously because I've had people who have been with me forever. But in this case of Jeff, and Frank was a good student, but Jeff was really a super student.
Agreed.
And I can remember, I think Jeff was a green belt when his son was born. Something like that. And Jeff hardly missed any time. And his wife didn't want him to miss time.
She's a good wife.
Yeah, she was a very good wife because she's pushing him out the door to make sure he goes. And, he's going, never in a hurry to do anything. Wanted to do it well. Somebody truly into the path. You'd come up to him and say, well, you should be able to grade now. Well, I'm not sure I'm ready yet. Maybe about another month. And
He did that a couple of times too, didn't he?
yeah, he was never in a hurry. He wanted to understand the material. Not just know the material, but understand the material. And then he hits the system black belt, and he's gone. Got him back in the dojo a few times, but his attendance became bad. Come maybe once a week rather than 3-4 times a week. And at first I thought it was because his son was growing up and taking up more time and things like that. And then one day he just disappeared. And it was years later I had the conversation with him that, what happened? Because, when something like this happens, we have to look at ourselves and go, where did we screw up?
Mm-hmm. As a teacher, huh?
And he said, no, it wasn't you guys, it was me. And as we talked about it, he had never seen anything beyond the destination of black belt. It wasn't even first degree. It was just black belt. And the same was true with Frank.
Yeah.
Frank was a good student too.
And we can use myself as a contrast in that with what you just said about Jeffster, in that when I was a green belt, I remember talking of Massacre and saying I wanted to make fourth degree. So that was my goal as a green belt. And I remember, I think I was second degree black belt, sir, when you and I were talking one day in class. And you said the challenge for me would be moving past second degree because I achieved that in Aikido. So I've already achieved this, like what I had achieved with you in Aikido. So to go beyond that is where the challenge would be for me.
See, I remember when I started, and as I have mentioned to a few people, the person who taught me my first lesson and many lessons after that was a 17-year-old Romanian defector, Christina. At that point in time, she was a blue belt, I believe it was 2 red stripes.
Almost red belt, yeah.
And I loved the color of that blue belt because the blue belt that we used, it just had it was the nicest shade. And I used that shade myself because there are some really dark blue belts. I didn't like those so much. But I'm looking at her and what she could do, and I really, really wanted that. And then when she became a red belt, I was so proud of her, because she was very, very good at her communications and her teaching.
Indeed.
A big boy. And then, it was very easy for me to have never been a goal setter to set goals because the belt system was easy. It wasn't hard. It wasn't a hard system to understand, and visually it was appealing. You could understand because the chart that Mr. Holohan had up on the wall that Chung O had given him. Yeah. Had minimum times there, so you could look at this thing and know, well, it's going to take at least this long to get here.
Yeah.
It was very well thought out. A lot of people, it took a lot longer. Nobody did it sooner, though, which was the interesting thing. There was no way to cheat that time frame.
I'm here, dude. And to add what you were just saying from my own experience, I remember the first time I watched an Aikido class. And I went in to watch a class. I wanted to watch it before I joined and signed up. And I'm watching everyone go on the room on the mats doing break balls. Everybody doing break balls, and I'm watching them play these different joint controls, throw each other, which are hard, and no one's getting hurt. And I thought it was like magic. And I remember it took me about a year to get the green belt. And after that point, I wasn't thinking black belt. I was thinking, okay, maybe brown belt. Then I get a brown belt, like, yeah, I want my black belt, right?
I had my first goal was blue belt, and then it was red belt because the red color was nice. Red belt with 2 black stripes on it, and then first degree, and second degree, and third degree, and fourth degree. And after fourth degree, I really didn't have any more.
Desire?
That's not the right word.
Okay.
It stopped mattering.
Yeah, the ego to it.
It wasn't like, oh good, I'm a 5th degree. There was no reward to that. It was, I wonder what I can learn next, became the driving force.
And I think that the thing that I want to share and point out though, so if we're talking about black belt, it's not a status thing. It's not about, I'm a first degree, so okay, whatever you're running. It's what that represents in terms of your journey, the level that you've attained in terms of physical skills, emotional, mental control, maturity, spiritual growth, how you take it to applying it to your life and becoming a better human being. And I think that's really important because too often people think about just social status or an ego thing or maybe even just physical ability.
Well, that reminds me today, and I don't do Facebook because anybody who knows me knows well, but I do post on Facebook, Kosho links and things, right? Every morning I go on and I go to the groups I have, and I will do it as long as those groups exist. Just don't comment because I'm never going to see it. I don't look. It's just to get you off of Facebook to go to the webpage to read the article. But at the top was a post I was tagged in from a dear friend who's a dog rescuer. And it was a demonstration from the World Taekwondo Federation. And she, if I remember correctly, her grandchildren are in martial arts or something. There's a reason that she would want to see this. And I looked at it, it was about 5 minutes long. I looked at about 30 seconds of it and I just shut it off and I thanked her for sending it to me. Right? But essentially what it was a gymnastics display because that's what it's become in modern times, right? Now, I mean, we did all the jumping kicks, the spinning kicks, the flying over crap kicks, and it was a lot of fun. And would I do it again? I think I'd have gone into Aikido or something instead.
And the thing is, like all the jump kicks, like you have much more experience than I do that stuff, but like really and truly, the only thing is teaching you besides timing is body control, because there's no actual application to the jump kicks.
What I think that it is, because I scaled down the system a lot, and we didn't bother with any of that stuff, is that if there's no substance, you have to make it sensational.
Yeah. And
WTF Taekwondo, there's not a lot of substance there. And otherwise, the student, like I did, out of my first system, you lose interest in continuing because I'm not learning anything. Well, here I am now. I'm too old to compete. And my teacher's doing nothing to enhance his own abilities. I teach class, drink coffee, and we go out for a beer afterwards. There was no progress, and I desperately the path needed to continue. And so it stopped becoming about promotions or new kata or anything like that to what else can I actually learn.
And what Master Art just said is what we're talking about. It's the journey. It's not the destination because, I won't mention how many black belts Sir has, but he has multiple black belts in different arts. But it's not about stopping because he's achieved a certain destination. It's, more journey. What else can I learn? What else can I do to grow and evolve myself?
Well, it reminds me of that email I got a while back from some guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he even bothered to send me an email because it didn't say anything to any extent, right? It's kind of like when your phone goes off and you look at his Facebook Messenger and there's somebody going, hi. Well, yeah, I'm not answering this. If you want to know something, ask a question.
Well,
But hi is not a,
it's like he was doing like a very extensive cover letter.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this thing and I start reading it, and well, I'll tell you a little bit about me. And this guy's listing all of his credentials. Okay. Well, I know how much I've done in 40 years. And I know what the price was for me to do that. The price was called I Had No Other Life. It destroyed relationships because I was never home. When I was working, it massively pissed off my employer, Chrysler Canada, because I just didn't bother to show up most of the time. If something was going on, I didn't bother to ask for the day off. I just didn't come in. Right? Because if I asked for the day off, they might say no. So I just will come in, And then they would punish me by giving me more time off. That makes perfect sense to me. My kid eats too much candy. I'm going to punish him by giving him more candy.
Especially if it's paid time off.
Why wasn't he getting paid for it if I didn't care? But, I'm looking at this guy, I'm thinking to myself, when did you eat, dude? Right? So either this guy's just full of shit, or all of this stuff's honorary, and I possess no honorary degrees in anything. I've turned down a few. I had a guy offer me a 10th day in kickboxing, and I thanked him and said, "Don't waste your postage, because I'll just throw the certificate out, because kickboxing's not a martial art, but sport. Nothing wrong with that." But it's like one of the Huskies come in here, and I try to convince you it's a fire truck. Like kickboxing, boxing, they're sports. Nothing wrong with sports. Hockey's not a martial art either. I played hockey forever. Yeah. And it was a good time, and you can learn a lot of things playing hockey. It's surprising. You really can. Especially about angles. But, you keep true to the path. And today, you're talking about instant gratification. Facebook's mandate upon creation was to create an addictive product, doing so by causing people to have dopamine hits because people liked what they do. But that kills the path, because then a like on Facebook becomes a destination, not a path.
Mm.
And you have to be very careful that you don't turn your path into a destination, or you will always be disappointed.
And the thing about what you're doing is that it's not just about martial arts, it's about everything in your life. Everything's a journey. You're looking at your job, your education, your relationships, your husband, wife, your kids, your friends, student-teacher relationship. You want to continue to be growing it and journeying.
Well, look at your journey, going to Toronto, flying to Bucharest, and then coming out here. I mean, he even fell off a train, which was just hilarious to see. All of a sudden, he was gone. He just fell right off the train.
On the dark. And the thing with that, too, is we did 5 cities in 8 days.
Yeah.
And then we stayed in the one city for a while.
We were in Sigishwara for the longest, but that's because of the holiday.
No, but after we got to the one where
Oradea.
Yeah, after we got to Oradea, we stayed in Oradea the longest before we got a place to stay here. But we did a lot of travel, and it was all by train, and it was with my husky.
Yeah. That's one of the great points in there. It was with a husky.
Who doesn't like trains?
Yeah.
So it was, it was all, as Lee Milton likes to talk about, building a plane as you're flying it. It was all dealing with it in a moment and going. It was
a lot of fun. I don't want to ever do it again. Right?
Especially flying on a train.
Yeah, that was a long journey, and we wiped it out in Cluj. That was Cluj, wasn't it? Or was that Oradea?
I'm not sure now.
I think that was Cluj.
I have to ask your son and my son.
Yeah, Scott would remember. But people are afraid of big dogs, and you call a taxi, and the guy looks at the size of the dog, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want him in my taxi," right? Because they're terrified, especially when it's a husky, and huskies have this tendency, especially Fritzy, has this tendency to look like Charles Manson on steroids some days. The insanity in his eyes is.
Where's my boy? He's very hyper and young. He'll be too soon, so yeah.
And so they get a little scared. So we were walking from train station to hotel, and sometimes it was a 45-minute to an hour walk.
In the rain.
In the rain. And I was walking Fritz, and he decided that I couldn't see, and I ended up tripping over a step and went down, and incredibly, I didn't break my phone, but I broke my hand up.
I was impressed at that, yeah.
And I remember we were far from the hotel, and I go to the hotel, and I went to the girl and said, "Do you have a bathroom? I need to clean myself up." And I went like this, and there's just blood running down my hands, and there's a trail going out the door. So you came in. Yeah, was it right?
Yeah.
So I went to the bathroom and bled all over the bathroom. He came behind cleaning up the mess afterwards because it looked like a slaughterhouse. But it was quite the journey, and that's the rewards. Learned a lot about the journey.
And the thing with that is, like, you can look at, okay, our destination was to get here, but that was just part of the journey. You can say our destination was to get our permanent stay. But again, that is part of the journey. And
then, we get here and we go, yeah, well, let's go back to Brashaw.
Yeah, Brashaw, please.
Which is okay, but I'm going to go back to Brashaw. It's a very nice place, but I miss being in the mountains, not just having them around me. I want to be in them again.
Agreed.
I miss that.
Agreed.
But there's another adventure as part of the journey coming. For me, being here is very comfortable. I can get things done in Romania, and I could never get things done in Canada. But the destination in life is when you die.
And if you think in terms of goals and goal setting, you achieve one goal, then you set another goal, because you haven't arrived. I felt it's the journey. So you make your first degree black belt. Okay, second's next, then third, and fourth, and are you teaching? You should be teaching. And then why are you exploring another martial art too? Why aren't you exploring history, the culture, or Kosho?
Well, that's today, everything in martial arts starts out from a physical level. Because, somebody walks into your dojo, the first thing you don't tell them about is the history of the teacher, and because they don't care. They want to punch and kick. But today, it's only about the physical. That's why they're doing things like backflips and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I like gymnastics. I think gymnastics is cool.
It's not martial arts.
It's not martial arts. And I live in a country, and I love a country that produced the greatest gymnast who ever lived, Nadia Comaneci. And she's a national treasure. Saw her once, too. Wow, she's gorgeous. Even today, she's still gorgeous. But she's a gymnast. She's not a martial artist. And those types of things come in, and there's nothing wrong with them. Right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But it replaces the learning and the mental aspects of the art. And that is a recipe for failure of the art, of the system, and the school, when there is nothing other than just the physical. It's like you run a dojo and there's no social aspect to the dojo. There has to be. Right? After we trained every Friday night, we went to Franco's Pizza.
Yeah, and there would be parties throughout the year.
Yeah. Christmas parties, New Year's parties, birthday parties.
Yeah, and I was the same when I was training.
It's today party. Camping trips. Oh, those were quite the journey. And the demonstrations after the camping trips. It was constant movement and development. And that's what made it exciting. So why did it fall apart? It's not. It's still running today. It's just running without me. Because perfectly honest with you, what I wanted out of life, my path, my journey was different. Because I belong here in this journey. And I'm extremely grateful to be back here again after having to go back there for a little while. Because that sure was hell. But, the journey is wrought with obstacles, which what makes it worthwhile doing.
Which is part of the journey.
Yeah, it's a big boy getting his back rubbed. That's Gandalf. My big boy. He's been with me since 2017. And actually, I'll tell the story of Gandalf because you just saw his face if you actually see it. I had gone to, this is part of the journey, right? I had, before I left Canada in 2015, that summer, I had cataract surgery on both eyes. I think it was 3 months apart. I think one was June and one was September. I know one was after my mom had passed. And before the surgery, I had 0% vision. I was totally blind in the right eye, and in the left eye, I think I was down to 20% vision. And the doctor did the right eye first because it was the worst one. And I can remember coming out of the operating room, and they sit you up in a chair, and I have no reaction to anesthetic. It doesn't bother me at all when I wake up. And he took the patch off, and all of a sudden there's this world of color. Right now you can't see it here, but next to on the left here to me is a Romanian flag, and it's a beautiful silky flag of blue, yellow, and red, and the colors are very, very vibrant. Yeah. I'm seeing color for the first time. This is like really epic. It's been 5 years since I saw anything look like that. And then they did the left eye, and the left eye was never quite as good as the right eye was. It was a little bit hazy, tiny bit. And the eye doctor, can't think of the word now, had said to me, well, it's possible that you'll get a secondary cataract in that eye. He says, all we do is we shoot it with a laser and it pops it open, but that's the sac that the original lens was in. So sometimes those go cloudy, and he says, I'm seeing a little bit of tint in that. So, when it gets bad, we'll just fix it. So I said, well, I'm going to be leaving as soon as I can. So January, we up in January 2016, we up and moved to Romania, Scott and I. And in the fall, I'm walking the Huskies, and it was October, and we got our first snowfall. And Alpha, being much younger in those days, she gave a good pull because she was all excited, and I went down and I hit my head on a railing on the bridge. Got a mild concussion out of it. But after that, I started getting flashes in this eye. So it started to get really cloudy, and I'm thinking, well, I got a secondary cataract. So through a friend, she helped me to book an appointment with an ophthalmologist in Brasov who comes in from Bucharest once a month to run clinics. And she looked into my eye, and she's going, that's not a secondary cataract. And she says, I need to do an ultrasound. And that's funky having your eyeball ultrasounded. And so she comes back to see me after the ultrasound. She says, your retina's detached. And she says, it's badly detached. And she's telling me about the surgical implications of it and the percentages and all that. And I just finally said to her, I said, God, I'm not going to do it. I'll just live with it. I'm not going to go through 2 surgeries for a 6% chance of getting some vision back. Like, who cares? Right? 2 surgeries and a guarantee is a little bit different. 2 surgeries and we don't know. Yeah, no thanks. But she asked me why I didn't, contact somebody immediately. Well, I didn't think it was serious. Is why. Right? So that night I get home, and I get a phone call from the woman who actually booked the appointment for me, she says, "You still want another husky?" I said, "Yeah, I do." She says, "Well, we've got one that's outside of Bucharest. He was abandoned. He's been in the rescue for a couple of years now, and he's been very, very hard to place. He's missing his left eye." And it was like, seriously? So the next day I went and got him, and he's my guardian because we're both blind in the left eye. Okay? And I never consider anything to be a coincidence. There has to be meaning in that. And he's standing here in this room because he watches me like a hawk. When I'm working, he sits outside the room and waits for me. He guards me at night. He's just the sweetest boy. And he's part of the journey. And love him dearly. I love all the dogs dearly, but he's a special boy. He's had a rough life, and he's had a very good life for the last few years. Well, anyways, can you think of anything else? No. Very good. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next week, probably, in the next video, because, in all honesty, I've got these, my computer tells me when I'm supposed to upload them, and I don't pay much attention to it beyond that. If you ever got any questions, though, there is contact information in the description below. And as I'm supposed to say, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends, all those things that I forget to talk about. Have a great day, guys. Ozi Buna.